Hey, today I'm talking about 3 Steve Martin films, and the names of those 3 films are My Blue Heaven, 3 Amigos, and Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. First up is My Blue Heaven. Fun fact, this movie came out on the day that I was born. I am literally exactly as old as this movie is. Isn't that neat? So this is an August 17th, 1990 film starring Steve Martin and Rick Moranis. It also has Joan Cusack. And some more extra fun facts. This is inspired by the same guy who inspired Goodfellas. And what's even extra interesting about that is that those 2 films came out in the same year, and Goodfellas was written by a husband, and this movie, My Blue Heaven, was written by his wife. Obviously, they're very tonally different, but both inspired by the exact same thing. I don't know, I just found that super fascinating. And it came out on my birthday. Anyway, so the basic premise is a good fella is gonna testify against a bunch of mob people, so he gets set in witness protection, sent to the middle of nowhere. And of course, he hates it at first, and he kind of struggles with continuing to do some gangster stuff. And this movie is surprisingly great. So, I know I keep saying interesting, but another interesting thing about this movie was that, like, I didn't super care about this movie at the beginning. Like, it started and I was fine with it. I wasn't super into it. I didn't find it that funny, or it was interesting-ish, but like I wasn't like being blown away by anything. It was honestly just like a middle of the road liked for a good while. And then, I don't know the exact time in the movie, but it was potentially like the halfway point. It's the scene in which Steve Martin and Rick Moranis do a bunch of dancing. It's a big turning point for Rick Moranis' character. And like, as soon as that scene started, I was like, oh, this is fun. Oh, this is really fun. Oh shoot, I like this scene a lot. Like this scene's great. I'm enjoying the hell out of this scene. Oh my goodness, if this movie keeps this up, I'm gonna have to bump it up. And it did keep the energy up. From then on out, I found the movie hilarious and super interesting, and I was super engaged with everything, and it was great. And then by the end of the movie, I honestly jumped it up to the really liked category. Like, they just did such interesting things with Steve Martin's character that I did not see coming, but still felt in line with his character. So I was just really surprised by how much I ended up enjoying this silly little movie about a gangster in middle of nowhere America. So yeah, I would recommend this movie. It was really good. You might be like me and it might take you like half of the movie to get into it, but honestly, it's worth it because the movie's great. So yeah, it's worth a watch. It's good. Next up is 3 Amigos. This is a 1986 film starring Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Chevy Chase. And this one I have seen before, but it's not since I was like a little kid and I really didn't remember it. I do remember we owned this movie on VHS, and I remember looking at it like when I was a teenager and being like, oh, I remember this movie. But upon this viewing, I really didn't remember much of anything besides their costumes. So the basic premise is this is set late teens of the last century during the silent film era boom, and these 3 white guys play 3 Mexican heroes in movies. They're just actors, but then one of their films gets shown while this woman is looking for some heroes to help save their small town Mexican village from a bad guy. She thinks that they are actual heroes, and through a miscommunication, she asks them to come down to save their village, but they think they're coming down to just perform a show. So there's lots of like people not realizing that 2 different things are happening type of humor. And it's pretty dang solid. I was a little worried that Chevy Chase was gonna try to do like a lot of scene stealing and stuff, like not letting Steve Martin kind of do his thing, but he was pretty subdued. And I'm not the biggest fan of him in general, but I did still find him funny. Martin Short really stole the movie for me. His character was hilarious. I mean, Steve Martin was also great, but I was very surprised by Martin Short. And I was a little afraid that like the miscommunication humor was gonna get old fast, but it really didn't for me. It kind of stayed its welcome just long enough. Plus, the 3 main characters are all idiots, and that's the joke. But they still are very talented, and like the characters know how to be funny. And then on top of that, they have a confidence in them that like is just fun to watch. So So even when things are going poorly, they still are trying their best and doing their best. And it's endearing. Yeah, this movie was just a lot of fun. It was silly and goofy and ridiculous. And yeah, I enjoyed it a good solid amount. I would definitely recommend this one as well. It is a lot of fun. And lastly is Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. This is a 1982 film, and it's real interesting for a lot of reasons. I know I keep saying interesting a lot this episode, but like, Steve Martin did some interesting things. So the basic premise is Steve Martin plays this private eye back in like the 30s and 40s, and he's investigating a mystery. It's a mystery noir black and white film, and it's also a comedy. But what's the big twist with this movie is that they got a dozen plus actual 40s and 50s noir films and spliced footage from those movies into this movie, treating them like they're all the same movie. Like the characters in those movies are characters in these movies. And it's really impressive. Like, first off, it's just a very, very interesting idea of like, almost like, you know, Power Rangers, just taking something that was something else and then turning it into something else. But this is also just like a giant love letter to all of those films. And it's kind of beautiful in that way. And honestly, just the amount of love and craft that went into this film is so impressive. Now that being said, I didn't super care for this movie. I kind of was really bored and I struggled so hard to follow the plot. I really didn't know what Steve Martin was doing, and I'm not super familiar with most of the films that they saw, so like a lot of the references and jokes that they were making I didn't get. And it's so weird because I both want to say that like this movie's story made no sense, but at the same time I want to compliment it for how it integrated all of those films into its story. I feel like I can't compliment it and also bash it for literally the exact same reason, but that's what I want to do. So I really admire this film, and I definitely want to see something like this again, like in a modern time, especially with a genre that I am more familiar with, films that I've seen more of. But in general, I wouldn't recommend this movie. I don't think you're really going to get a lot out of it unless you are a big 40s and 50s noir fan. Like if you know of all the movies that referenced in this movie, it's definitely worth it, then you're going to get a lot out of it. But me personally, that's just an area of my film knowledge I don't have a ton of, so it was lost on me. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got My Blue Heaven, sitting number 47, right at the bottom of the really liked section. And then after that is Three Amigos, sitting number 83 in the quite like section. And then bringing up the rear is Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, sitting at number 127 at the top of the mid category. And this is out of a total of 165 old movies so far this year.